In this lecture, we are going to look at part 1 of the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, which is foundational information. We will start by looking at the two parts, which are foundational information and the core of the RMF. We are going to look at the characteristics of trustworthy AI per the NIST AI RMF. We're going to look at some risk management challenges outlined in the RMF, the phrase right people, right tools, which might be useful for you in the future. And then we are going to look at the intended audience for this RMF. As I mentioned a moment ago, there are two parts to the NIST AI RMF. Part 1 is foundational information, which we are going over in this lecture. Part 2 is the core of the framework, which we will go over in the next lecture. Part 1 includes characteristics of trustworthy AI and how organizations can frame AI-related risks. Part 2, the core of the framework, includes 4 steps: govern, map, measure, and manage. You absolutely have to remember those 4 steps there: govern, map, measure, and manage, but we're going to get to those in the next lecture. There are 7 characteristics of trustworthy AI, according to the NIST AI RMF. They are valid and reliable, safe, secure and resilient, accountable and transparent, explainable and interpretable, privacy enhanced, and fair with harmful bias mitigated. These are all old hat for us at this stage in the course. You should understand all of this terminology, and there really isn't anything that stands out as particularly unique here. The foundational information of this RMF does include some risk management challenges, and in laying this out, the RMF is trying to help readers frame the different challenges that managing AI systems pose for organizations. Those include third-party software, hardware, and data, tracking emergent risks, reliable metrics availability, real-world setting, inscrutability, for example, the black box feature of AI systems, specifically of machine learning models, identifying a human baseline. The challenge there can be that it's difficult to compare human performance to AI systems, risk tolerance and prioritization, and finally, organizational integration and management of risk. With regards to real-world setting, I think the challenge there is that we can do all of the internal and pilot testing in the world that we want. Once we release something into the world and we expose that model, that system to thousands or millions of people, we are likely to discover that there are uses of the system that were unanticipated. And I think that's certainly a risk management challenge. The phrase right people, right tools is intended to convey the importance of assigning and documenting roles, responsibilities, authorities, and resources. This is something that, as we'll see in Domain 6, is central to standing up an AI governance body. Similarly, and I think this last point here is assuming that we are bringing AI into an established organization that already has risk management structures. When incorporating an AI system into an existing organization, it's important to review the existing risk management structures and leverage those to help stand up the AI governance body and AI risk management framework for that organization. There are 2 intended audiences for the NIST AI RMF, and for me, they include just about everyone, I suppose. There's the primary audience. These are the AI actors that perform or manage the design, development, deployment, evaluation, and use of the AI system. And then there's the audience that informs the primary audience. This includes trade associations, standards developing organizations, researchers, advocacy groups, environmental groups, civil society, and end users. Of course, as we've already said and will continue to say throughout the course, it's important that any AI governance body incorporates a diversity of experience, expertise, background, demographics, and disciplines. I believe it's unlikely that you're going to be tested on the content of this visualization, but in reading through the NIST AI RMF and picking out the important takeaway information for you all, I felt that this was a really useful and compact visualization that helps to demonstrate the different activities, actors, and testing, evaluation, verification, and validation activities that populate the AI development lifecycle. Again, I think it's unlikely that you're going to be tested on this content, specifically because the IAPP has developed for this exam, for the AIGP exam, its own 4-stage life cycle, which we're going to talk about in Domain 5. That model, that life cycle, does not match up with what NIST has here. So it is not going to marry well enough with what IAPP has put together. But I think that this is just a useful overview of the process. And certainly the actors involved, these different activities, these are all things that you're going to be involved in and content that you have or you will see throughout this course. It's just not going to be organized and chopped up in this particular way. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I don't think you're going to be tested on this visualization, but reading through this, just skimming through it, I think would be helpful from a conceptual standpoint in really helping to drive home a lot of the concepts and processes and terminology that we've come across so far. In this lecture, we went over part 1 of the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. Remember that the RMF has 2 parts. Part 1 is foundational information, which is what we just did, and part 2, which is the topic of the next lecture, is the core of the framework. You need to remember that for the NIST AI RMF, there are 7 characteristics of trustworthy AI. Those are valid and reliable, safe, secure and resilient, accountable and transparent, explainable and interpretable, privacy enhanced, and fair with harmful bias mitigated. There are several risk management challenges. They include third-party software, hardware, and data, tracking emergent risks, reliable metrics availability, the real-world setting, and the inscrutability or black box nature of AI systems. These challenges also include identifying a human baseline, risk tolerance and prioritization, and organizational integration and management of risk. Remember the phrase, right people, right tools. This refers to the importance of assigning and documenting roles, responsibilities, authorities, and resources. Finally, remember that the primary audience for the NIST AI RMF include AI actors that perform or manage the design, development, deployment, evaluation, and use of AI systems, as well as groups that inform the primary audience.